Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship.
The bottom line is we were sitting in our vehicle in a parking lot far away from anybody else, and the only thing that put us in risk of contracting or spreading COVID-19 was this officer approaching us. The officer approached us without his mask on, without gloves on, without, taking any kind of COVID precautions. So that was really the only thing that could have led to the spread of COVID-19 was this officer, questioning us about why we were there.
It's just insane. Is he worried about the Pokemon? Can Pokemon contract COVID-19? Does he know that the Pokemon gym is not actually a gym? Because I think at the time gyms in Ontario were closed. I mean, it's just so crazy.
Point was they were in an empty area without any people around, and they were simply ticketed for not being at home. There's several different exemptions that apply to stay-at-home orders, which we've obviously looked into. But it's absolutely ridiculous that somebody would be charged with something like this and that it would actually continue to proceed throughout the court system using valuable court resources.
Today, I'm bringing you the story of the second person that I've met through our civil liberties project, fightthefines.com, who has received a lockdown ticket for the crime of just sitting in his car. The first time I heard of police being this overzealous was the case of Walter Matheson, the man from Hampton, New Brunswick, who received a lockdown ticket from the police there for, get this, eating a muffin alone in his car in a Tim Hortons parking lot with the windows rolled up. Now, today's story of government overreach and overeager policing, well, it's equally as stupid. You're going to hear the story of Matt Steeves, who was sitting in his van playing Pokémon Go in a parking lot with his wife after a long week of pandemic home confinement at the hands of the government and homeschooling his kids because, the government also closed the schools. Then Matt received a ticket for not being at home because apparently sitting in his van with the wife he lives with playing Pokémon Go was somehow, according to police, a danger to the public health. But don't worry. We're helping Matt fight that lockdown ticket in court through our civil liberties project, fightthefines.com, where we connect people who've received a lockdown ticket or summons or sometimes even a criminal charge with top criminal and civil litigators at no cost to them to fight their tickets in court. We do this all with your help and donations through a partnership with a registered Canadian charity called the Democracy Fund. And thank you to everybody who donates there. We couldn't do this without you. Now, we did the same thing for Walter Matheson. We fought back, police dropped his ticket, and hopefully the same will happen for Matt. I talked to Matt last week from his home in Kingsville, Ontario, about his Pokémon Go lockdown tickets. Take a listen.
This ticket was so ridiculous, and, we were all for the lockdown, and we thought that it was keeping people safe and that it was really helping people by not exposing them to this virus. And we thought that we were doing everything right. We happened to leave our house on this one particular occasion and ended up getting fined for it. So,
yeah, you explained to me that, you were even homeschooling your kids because you were, following the lockdown. You're not a rule breaker, or at least you weren't at the time.
Right.
Go ahead.
Our kids didn't go to school at all last year. They were homeschooled the entire year. So that entire time, me and my wife were, trying to play teacher and trying to, cope with having our kids 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So it was a very stressful time for us.
Which I think is why you and your wife play a game together. You guys went out for a little bit of fresh air after probably a long week of homeschooling your kids. God bless you for doing that. Tell us how you got this lockdown ticket. Because like I said, it's just insane.
So we usually play Pokemon Go as a family. We get the kids involved. We all get to go out. We all get to, be not inside the house, get to go around and do different things. On this particular occasion, me and my wife were feeling particularly stressed with our home situation. So we thought we would just take a little bit of time to ourselves and go out and play Pokemon Go by ourselves. Mind you, we were in a lockdown. We were in a stay-at-home order. We weren't really supposed to, go out and be doing this kind of thing. But we figured, we're just sitting in our van. We're not getting out of our van. We're two people from the same household. Like, how can we really be hurting anybody or contributing to the spread of COVID-19 by, sitting in our van and going for a drive?
That's, sorry, go ahead. Before you go on, you guys were sitting in your van when this happened.
In our van. We never once left the confines of our van. We were in our vehicle the entire time. So I just see that as being an extension of my house, basically, right? It's not like I'm going out and, I don't know, being in close contact with a bunch of other people, or I'm not having, 50 people over to my house and having a party or something like that. I'm just sitting in my van and playing a game on my cell phone.
With the woman you live with.
With the woman I live with. That's the thing. Not even somebody from outside of my household, but I live with this woman. I'm with this woman all the time.
So how did you get the ticket? What happened?
So we had pulled into a church parking lot. In the game, the churches are gyms. They're a place where you can go and you can battle other players for control over that gym. So we pulled into the parking lot and we were sitting there with the vehicle in park and the ignition turned off. And we noticed an OPP cruiser had pulled into the parking lot. So he pulled up right behind us, turned his lights on and got out of his vehicle and came over and asked us what we were doing in the parking lot. So we explained to him that we're just, we needed some time outside of our house. We needed a mental health break from our children. So we just came here to, get a little bit of time away. He said, I understand what you're doing, but you're not allowed to be doing that. We are in a stay-at-home order and a lockdown, and you should not be out of your house. This isn't an essential reason for being outside of your house. I was flabbergasted. I couldn't believe this. I asked him, what are we doing wrong? We both live in the same house. We both live in the same house. We're not leaving the confines of our vehicle. He said that we were contributing to the spread of COVID-19 because if we got into a car accident when we were out, first responders would have to come to our rescue. And that would be putting people at risk of contracting COVID-19 because we got into a car accident. Well, we can play the what if game all day. What if this happens? What if this happens? The bottom line is we were sitting in our vehicle in a parking lot far away from anybody else. And the only thing that put us in risk of contracting or spreading COVID-19 was this officer approaching us. The officer approached us without his mask on, without gloves on, without, taking any kind of COVID precautions. So that was really the only thing that could have led to the spread of COVID-19 was this officer, questioning us about why we were there.
It's just insane. Is he worried about the Pokemon? Can Pokemon contract COVID-19? Does he know that the Pokemon gym is not actually a gym? Because I think at the time gyms in Ontario were closed. I mean, it's just so crazy. What were the amounts of the tickets that you guys were issued?
We were only issued one ticket.
Great.
My wife was not issued a ticket. So the ticket was $750. And then with the surcharges and everything like that, it came out to $880. So it's quite a hefty fine for just sitting in your vehicle.
Yeah, I love the victim surcharges when you're actually the victim. Like, who's the victim here? Doug Ford?
Yeah, Ford's the victim, sure.
Now, I shouldn't be laughing because this is a very serious matter. $880 is a big bite out of your family's budget. And that's why I'm so happy to be able to offer you and your wife and your family some help to fight your lockdown ticket in court through fightthefines.com. Do you have a message for the people really who we couldn't do this without the people who are donating to fightthefines.com?
Yeah, I just want to say that I'm extremely grateful for everybody who's donated to this cause. It's definitely a worthy cause, and without them, a lot of people would be in a much harder position. to have to pay lawyers or whatever to fight these ridiculous fines. So thanks to Rebel News and Fight the Fines and everybody who donates to this cause, because I, for one, really appreciate it.
What an absolute farce, a waste of police resources. And as Matt rightly points out, the only time he was really exposed to anybody outside of his household was when the cops ticketed him for sitting alone in his car with the wife that he lives with. It's all for your health, you see. Now, I caught up with our Fight the Fines paralegal, who's been working really hard for Matt and hundreds of other people. Here's Jenna Little with an update to Matt's case.
I think a lot of people heard about this when the pandemic was first starting to create these charges and this wacky enforcement. Mr. Steeves and his girlfriend were in a parking lot playing Pokemon Go. I'm not going to comment on whether they were in the vehicle or not, but point was they were in an empty area without any people around, and they were simply ticketed for not being at home. I mean, there's several different exemptions that apply to stay-at-home orders, which we've obviously looked into. But it's absolutely ridiculous that somebody would be charged with something like this and that it would actually continue to proceed throughout the court system using valuable court resources.
So without giving too much away, because I don't think we want to tip our hat to the other side, and you don't work for me, you work for this Mr. Steeves. Mm-hmm. How do you plan to fight this ticket in court?
I think that if anything, we'd want to probably dig as deep as we can into the laws and split as many hairs as possible. Splitting hairs is one of my favorite things to do. That's why I do this for a living. And we want to challenge the validity and the constitutionality of these laws and simply find out, do they apply to Mr. Steeves' case or not? And even if they do, continue to challenge as much as possible.
Now, like I said at the beginning of this video, this case of Matt Steeves and his wife, it has to be one of the dumbest Fight the Fines cases I have seen yet, and I've seen some dumb ones. Matt and his wife weren't even anti-lockdown until the government made them anti-lockdown activists through the government's own heavy-handed actions and ridiculous behavior. This one's a no-brainer. We have to help Matt. If you can help us help Matt and the nearly 2,200 other people we're helping through our largest civil liberties initiative ever, please donate today at fightthefines.com. For Rebel News, I'm Sheila Gunn Reid. Rebel News' largest civil liberties project ever, fightthefines.com, is helping Matt Steeves and approximately 2,200 other people fight their lockdown tickets in court at no cost to them. We're able to do this through the generosity of our viewers at home. Thank you so much. And through our partnership with a registered Canadian charity, the Democracy Fund. So good news, all donations there now qualify for a charitable tax receipt. Again, to donate to help people like Matt and so many other Canadians, visit fightthefines.com.